Okay, man. Hopefully, I've got one gonna send to you via YouTube, and I'm also gonna send it to you Google Drive. That's uploading right now. Anyways, I'm back. Okay, so check it out. So we ended with the dominant chords. So you have the B diminished, a low B, right? Right. Then you've got the dominant chords, which you start. Check this out. The dominant chords you find by going. Well, you can find them a couple different ways. One is go down a half step from the root of the diminished chord. So if you've got the B diminished, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to the B flat. That's the tension. And so from there you're going to go dominant, up a minor third, dominant, up a minor third, dominant, right. So you got this kind of thing happening. Kind of thing, right? And again, you've got more frets, so you can go even higher, right? So not only do you have 4 diminished chords, because it's all symmetrical, really. It's just a different root. Here's the B, D, F, A flat. You start on the D, it's D, F, A flat, B, right? And you start on the F, it's F, A flat, B, D. And then you start on the A flat, it's A flat, B, D, F. All the same notes, just a different root, really. So basically, you've got this, in a B diminished, you've got a B diminished, right? You've got an A flat diminished or G sharp diminished. You've got an F diminished and a D diminished. So you got B diminished, D diminished, F diminished, A flat or G sharp diminished, then back to B diminished. Again, all ba 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 ba. Right, you've heard that kind of stuff before. Ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba ba da ba. That's all diminished chord straight. Now here's the fun part about it, though. Actually. There's actually 8 diminished chords, if I'm not correct. Let me just figure this out. So from the B, got a D diminished, a B diminished. Now if we go up to the C sharp, which is the first tension, when you play the whole step above, ba ba. If we go there, we also have a diminished chord. Ba boo ba 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 da. Very interesting, right? So you've got ba boo da ba da ba da ba boo do ba 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 da, right? Then you've got the D diminished, and then you go boo do do ba 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 do. So now you've got 8 diminished chords actually within the chord scale, the whole half chord scale. Excuse me. I don't know if you're in the valley in LA where you're at right now, but it's hot. You know that. It's always hot in the valley. Anyways, so B diminished, C sharp diminished, right? D diminished, then E diminished, right? And then you've got F diminished, then G diminished, then A flat diminished, then to B flat diminished, B diminished. So you got this, or you could like this. Interesting, right? If you piece it all together, you end up having a lot of material to sort of play on a diminished chord. It's not just like, oh, I've got a B diminished, I could just play B. Well, I can also play D flat, right? And I can also play D up to E. So, from the root, diminished, B diminished, go up a whole step, C sharp diminished, go up a half step, there's D diminished, go up a whole step, right, and then go up a half step, then go up a whole step, and up a half step, whole step, and now you're back. So all from the chord scale. This is all from the chord scale, because the chord scale is whole half on the B. So it's like whole half, whole half. So so those notes are B, C sharp, D, E, and F, right? Well, B diminished, D flat diminished, so all those notes are taken from the chord scale, from that symmetrical diminished chord scale. Going back down, B flat diminished, A flat diminished, G diminished, F diminished, E diminished, D diminished, C sharp diminished, back to B diminished. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 different diminished chords in there, right? That's a that's a lot of stuff, right? So on all those, on every one of those ones that you decide to use, whatever you sort of are hearing, then you can just kind of plug it in. So if it's like, maybe Donnelly comes to that end where it goes into that F, C, so it's B diminished. So I could use, if I want to, I could use B flat diminished, A flat, G, right. right. So you don't just have to use just the B diminished. It's like there's so many things. So I encourage you to, check it out. Go through it where, you're just kind of getting familiar with all the different shapes that exists in that chord. Excuse me. Thanks. Sorry. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. Not all the time, but basically, a diminished chord, like this B diminished, if I was to put a G underneath that, then all of a sudden I would have so really a lot of the times instead of it being a B diminished, it's actually, so where's the B diminished go? If the B diminished is going to the C, there's a C7, C minor 7, F, B flat, 2, to the end of Donna Lee. So basically, it kind of is like this. The diminished chord is really a substitute for a dominant chord. It's not always like that. A lot of times it's as a passing chord. But even as a passing chord, if I'm going from D to D flat to C, well, so what is the fifth of C? The fifth of C is actually G7, right? Well, what are we playing here? We're outlining. We're actually kind of bringing out the 5, which is very interesting, right? So even when you go from the let's see, B flat, C minor, and so it almost feels like you're doing this, but really it's happening like this. It's kind of the same chord. So you're using it in a dominant sort of function like that. Same thing, if you're playing a B diminished, it's a B flat. It could be a B flat dominant chord, So, realize what's going on. There's a lot of things going on. You got one diminished chord. Well, you've got 8 diminished chords in there, all right? You got one diminished chord. You've got 4 dominants in there, right? Good. All right. So, with all that in mind, it's definitely a passing chord most of the time. Sometimes, like I said, like if I'm playing like in Donna Lee, where it goes to the F minor to the B7, you could put any roots you want on there, in your line. If it's B diminished, you could go from A flat diminished, F diminished, D diminished, right? But you also can go C sharp dominant, E dominant, G dominant, B flat. So what you have now is a dominant chord with a flat 9, a sharp 9, a sharp 4, and a natural 13. So it's like this. Root, flat 9, sharp 9, 3, sharp 11, 5, 13, flat 7. Oh, my bad. That's right. B flat, A flat, G, F, E, which is sharp 4, D, which is 3rd, D flat, which is sharp 9, B, which is flat 9, B flat's root. So you got this kind of thing. Right. Now I wanted to say, you could plug that in anytime you want to. I use it a lot with, especially I like if you're playing a dominant chord, to start it from any of the you can start it from B flat or D flat or E, but actually start it from the flat 7. So if I was to play instead of a B flat, I would start it from the A flat. It would be whole half. Right? Whole half from a tension, half whole, my bad, whole half from a tension, like the B flat, it'll be half whole. So you got whole half, let me say that one more time, whole half from chord tones. I started all of that from chord tones, the B, the D, the F, and the A flat, right? Okay, but if I want to do it as a dominant sound, then I'm going to start either on the B flat, the D flat, the E, or the G, because those are actually the way you can kind of think about it. The way I think about it is I'm just going to go, I'm either going down a half step from a chord tone, or I'm going up a whole step from a chord tone, and that's where the dominant chord is, okay? So, with all that said and done, you could practice it like, and that's from the C sharp. So what I wanted to say was this: practice in all of them. What I wanted to say was, when using this, I use it, but most of the time it seems to be you use it on when you're resolving to a major chord. Only reason I say that, it's not necessarily true. You can resolve to maybe a minor 6 as well. But the fact is that if you play a B flat 7 with the half whole, 1 flat 9 sharp 9 3 sharp 4 natural 5 natural 13, if I'm going to resolve it to there's resolving it down. So sometimes you have to be aware of sort of what it sounds like around you in how you're going to actually use it to resolve it. I love the sound starting on the flat 7, where you've got this. So if I'm going to an E flat major, I sort of resolved it there like that. So anyways, that's a lot of stuff. It's all diminished fun. So all you have to remember, if I do a little bit of a review or capping up of here, is that you've got 4 diminished chords within this diminished chord, all starting on the chord tone. So you got B, diminished, D diminished, up a minor third, F diminished, up a minor third, A flat or G sharp diminished. I think you call it G sharp because we go G sharp, B, D, F. Much better than saying A flat, C flat, D double flat. I don't know what that would be, G double flat or whatever. But so G sharp, and then back to the B, right? Also, you have diminished chords built on every scale degree of this scale. And what's the scale again? The scale is a whole half. So you got whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Sorry, it'll be a little slower. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Right? So now we actually have diminished on the non-chord tones. So we've got B diminished, C sharp diminished, D diminished, E diminished, F diminished, G diminished, G sharp diminished, B flat diminished, B diminished, right? You got 4 dominant chords that sit in there, okay? And those are all built on the tensions, not the chord tones. So I'm gonna go down a half step from the B diminished and go to a B dominant, then up a minor third, D flat dominant, E dominant, A dominant, B flat dominant. Okay, so now you've got, when it's diminished, a whole half. When it's dominant, half whole. So half whole from B to C sharp. If it's on the B flat, then B flat to B. All right, good. Let's see. I think that's what I wanted to cover. It's a very involved chord. You know, it's the diminished land, but I think we covered a lot of it. 8 diminished chords that sit within, 4 dominant chords that sit within. So, good deal, man. We're gonna bulk this off. I'm gonna upload it to YouTube. I'm also going to upload it to Google Drive and send it to you that way. So we're gonna go 2 different ways. Let's see which one is easiest or the best. Okay? All right, man. The video mill is open again. So it's about 10. I could probably do one more, or maybe I'll wait till tomorrow. But anyways, let's see how these 2 get to you. Okay, man. Good enough.